God bless everyone. My name is Lovely Kabikas, BN1 from Group 2. In this video, we are going to discuss peace education. I will tackle about the definition of the peace education, practical alternatives, and the ethical imperatives in peace education. So, let's start! Why educate peace education? Peace education is a primary pillar for preventing armed conflicts and violence, saving lives, and freeing up limited resources for social needs. But first, let me clarify what peace is and what education is. What is peace? It is personal and cultural experiences within certain situations will have a significant impact on one's concept of peace. This means that the peace is the state of having serenity and security. This is the state at a time when there is no chaos, quarrel, strife, or a war going on between nations or states in the world, where everyone is united to suppress and prevent the spread of bad things that affect the health of the people in the country. What is education? Education is both the act of teaching knowledge to others and the act of receiving knowledge from someone else. It means that the education is one of the most important things a person can do. Higher education is critical to transforming society and achieving a prosperous economy. Because of education, people have become better citizens, enjoy better jobs, and have learned what is right and what is wrong. What is peace education? Peace education is a means of socializing children through peace and of preventing violence and social injustice. Education cultivates the necessary mutual respect, tolerance, and critical thinking skills for reconciliation. Higher education countries are more likely to be involved in war and conflict. Education is associated with more social engagement and a decreased incidence of extremism. Conflict-sensitive education and the tools will help to reduce bias and foster a spirit of forgiveness. The development of public school classrooms and peace centers through Bayanihan is an example of collective peace education activity that greatly helps local communities. Peace through the promotion of quality public education covers economic, political, social, cultural, moral, and ethical issues. What is practical alternative in peace education? Peace education is a practical alternative. It is expected to build a critical mass of people who will demand for and address the needed personnel and structural changes that will transform the many problems that relate to peace into non-violent, human, and ecological alternatives and solutions. Nothing is an alternative for peace, but education about how to deal with issues in a way that brings about peace cannot hurt. Teaching students how the conflicts and wars came about might prepare them to find peaceful solutions to the world's problems. Many factors cause the lack of peace, and all the education in the world cannot put a student in control of those factors in the future. What is ethical imperative in peace education? Educating for peace is an ethical imperative, considering the negation of life and well-being caused by all forms of violence. The goal of ethical is to prevent a conflict from occurring in the first place, or to educate individuals and societies for a peaceful living based on nonviolence, tolerance, equality, respect for diversity, and social justice. This ethical concept includes the unity and importance of life, not just human life, but also other kinds of life in nature. Based on philosophy that teaches love, compassion, trust, and reverence for human, family, and all life in our beautiful planet, this paper highlights the fact that this education is a practical and ethical imperative.
God bless mom and everyone. I am James Nyasabali from BEd first year. So in this part of the report, I am the assigned reporter who going to continue the topic. And so without any further ado, let's proceed to let's continue the report. So there are three, which are the attitude or values, the knowledge, the skills. So this is the schema of knowledge, skills, and attitudes and value or values for peace education. So in order to achieve the uh, peace, um we need to be educated for the some factors that will help us to achieve our aim for the education. So we have attitudes or values. So first, number one, you have to respect yourself first before anything else. Next one is respect for others. So of course, you have to respect elders or younger than you. Then next one is the gender equality. We must have, we must perform the equal treatment towards the LGBTQ, not just to our opposite sex, but also for some LGBTQ. The next one is respect for life, non-violence. So do not react. Do not overreact on things that are not accurate to be overreacted to, right? You must respect life for good. The next one is the compassion, of course. And then number six is the global concern. You not just be a concern just for yourself, but also for the global. Then the ecological concern. Of course, you must be concerned of our ecological system, uh, because without the resources of the ecological system, we're not we're not going we're not be able to survive in this one planet Earth. The next one is the cooperation. So, in order for us to have peace, in order to us for have unity, we must cooperate to one another. So we must have the thing cooperation for us to have a better pretty outcome. The next one is the openness and tolerance. So, when regards to mistakes or somebody commits mistake, you should be open to him, or what we say. We have to say things that um, will correct to them. Openness. In other words, we have to um, open up to someone which is needed, or there are some things that needed to be open. We have to learn the attitude of being open to one another, no? The tolerance. The next one is justice. So justice, then that is understandable. And number 11 is the social responsibility. Of course, you have to be responsible not just for yourself, but also for the society or the people around you. You should, when socializing people, you should be, uh, if you have done anything, you would take responsibility of your actions. The last one of the attitude or values is the positive vision. So, for us to be have a positive flow of life, you have to vision positivity. You should be uh, positive in all aspects of life, regarding on your decisions or what you will do or the steps that you will making ahead of your anything or your journey as well. And the next one is the knowledge. After the attitude or values, we will uh, proceed to knowledge. So knowledge, yeah, you should have the holistic concept of peace. The next one is the concept conflict and violence causes. Then the third one is some peaceful alternatives, which is to be discussed probably later on. Then the next one is we have skills. The skills, there are eight that you should possess on. These are the reflection, critical thinking or analysis, the decision making, imagination, communication, conflict resolution, empathy, and group building. So now, as I've said, let's proceed to the education for peace list of knowledge, areas, skills, and attitudes or values. So these knowledge and content areas, some of the knowledge or content areas that are integral to peace education are holistic concept of peace, conflict and violence, some peaceful alternatives, um, that these three are the knowledge that you have to possess on. So let's proceed to the number one, the holistic concept of peace. So it is important that students understand that peace is not just the absence of physical in or direct violence, but also the presence of condition of well-being, the cooperation and just relationship in the human ecological spheres. So in the concept of uh, peace, we have to be holistic, not just the physical, but also the values that you have in yourself. No, you have to be cooperative to the people around you, and the relationship between you and the ecological spheres. You must be mm, in accurate, I mean in accordance to act that what is right, what is just right. Now, let's proceed to the number two, the conflict and violence. So, when we are talking about conflicts, it is natural part of person's life, right? But some of the conflicts are the cause of some violence, no? When let's say that there's having conflict and you come up into violence uh, way of solving, no, the violence is not good for the peace of the people. Violence is not good because of course it can harm people, so the peace will be gone. The peace will be neglected because of the violence that is uh, make as a problem solve or the resolution, problem resolution. Now that students must have knowledge of the conflict and violence. No, we have students should um, study the problems of violence in various levels from the personal to global and including direct, structural, socio-cultural, and ecological violence. So that fields that students should focus on in regards to conflict and violence. So the next one is the some peaceful alternatives. So letter A. So there are 8 peaceful alternatives for in this part. So letter A is the disarmament. No, um, learners can be introduced to the goal of abolishing war and reducing global armed forces and armaments. For what? No, for what? It is for the students to be aware that um the to be aware some goals of some goals of abolishing war, and it is good for them to see the fully of excessive arms and military expenditures and the logic of reallocating resources towards the fulfillment of basic needs. For example, the food, the house, the health care, and the education. So as said, this is a springboard for the exploration of the meaning of true human security, which springs from the fulfillment of both basic needs and higher needs of humans. No? So it is really important that students will be aware of this armaments. Learners should be introduced to this uh, topic. So the next one is the non-violence. So no, children can study the philosophical and spiritual underpinnings of non-violence as well as its efficacy as a method to effect change. So um, these are some of the peaceful alternatives of this is the non-violence. So in regards of problem resolution, we don't have to be violent to punish those who have mistakes, who have committed crimes. I mean committed sins. No, we can do it in a proper good way, right? And the next one is the conflict resolution, transformation, and prevention. So students must have the knowledge of conflict resolution, and after that, the transformation and the prevention. After the conflict resolution, of course, we have to see a transformation if it is effective or somewhat good, somewhat have good effect of the person. And students must have the knowledge of the prevention. Of course, after the problem resolution and the transformation, we have to possess the prevention. We have to achieve something that can be that can prevent to the previous problem, right? So the next one is the human rights. Of course, it is very common that students should have the knowledge of assessing the human rights. Of course, anyone and everyone should have the knowledge of the human rights for us to be aware of what we can possibly do, what are um, rights to do things that is uh, unusual to other people, to avoid humiliation and degrading criticizing, no? We have to be knowledgeable enough to our rights. No, it is important for learners to have an integral understanding of human rights and reject all forms of repression and discrimination based on beliefs, race, ethnicity, gender, and social class. So they should be encouraged to respect the dignity of all, especially the weak and the powerless. Now, for example, in some scene that is there is a poor and the rich one. So the rich one tries to humiliate the poor one, which he doesn't know that the poor one knows about the human right, and this poor one pinaglalaban niya yung karapatan niya. So that is the purpose of of knowing the human rights, for us to fight what are we are fighting for, right? The next one is the human solidarity. So many commonalities bind together divergent religious, cultural, local, and national groups. So all humans have common norms, yes, basic needs and aspirations, and a shared membership in an interdependent human or global community. Of course, we only have one planet Earth that we are living off, and students should learn the knowledge of the human solidarity. Of course, we should have a unity. No, we cannot be a selfish one to achieve the peaceful community, right? For us to have, if you are aiming for a pretty good outcome of your society, you have to learn to socialize to other people. No, you have to share something that is common to your religion. You have to perform. You have to uh, students can look at how to increase uh, interreligious, intercultural, and intergroup trust, empathy, respect, and cooperation, as well as discourage stereotyping and prejudice. That's And next one is the development based on justice. So learners can be made critically aware of the realities and tragic consequences of the structural violence, development is not only for growth alone but also the equitable sharing of its fruit. So development based on justice, right? When we talk about development, it is not just only for the physical growth but also for the mental, the health, the the knowledge, the growth of the maturity. No, it is based on the justice. To the next one is the democratization. We are living in Philippines. It is a democratic, uh, what do you call it? Democratic mm, country. We are living in a democratic country. It is important for learners to understand that democracy provides the environment within people's fundamental rights, interests, and wishes are respected. For example, the LGBTQ, no? We are respecting them as how we respect our opposite gender. I am respecting the girl, or the girlaloo. I mean the tomboy as the girl as well. Not the same as the girl. Treatment of them is not just we have a specialization of uh, treatment of the LGBTQ, but we are respecting them as what human that should be respected for. And the last one is the sustainable development. Learners need to understand the interdependent relationship between humans and the natural environment and understand the changes that are necessary to ensure the well-being of the Earth's ecosystems such that it can continue to meet future and present needs. So sustainable development. So student should have the knowledge of not just thinking about what is what we have today, but also uh, the students should think about what what will happen to the future if we will do something bad things for today. No, we will not just think about what we will have today, but also what will be in the future. No, what the needs of the future and the relationship between the human and the natural environment. We don't have to be selfish, right? Because we humans need the environmental, the natural resources. So mm, we have to care our natural resources for us to continue to survive up to present, uh, up to future needs. And the next one will be reporter, or next reporter will discuss the attitudes and values regarding to peace for education, for peace education. Thank you.
Attitude and value. Attitudes are specific judgments about an object, whereas values are abstract and situational. Attitudes can be positive or negative, whereas values are primarily positive, and attitudes are less important for one's self-concept than value. So it is suggested that the following attitudes and values be cultivated. Number 1. Self-respect. Having a sense of their own worth and a sense of pride in their own particular social, cultural, and family background, as well as a sense of their own power and goodness, which will enable them to contribute toward positive change. For example, is when you know you deserve to be treated right, and as a result, you do not tolerate others lying to you or treating you unfairly. Second, respect for others. Having a sense of the worth and inherent dignity of other people, including those with social, religious, cultural, and family backgrounds different from their own. So, the example of respect for others is by listening to one another. Number 3. Respect for life or non-violence. Valuing of human life and refusal to respond to an advisory or conflict situation with violence. Preferences for non-violence processes such as collaborative problem solving and other positive techniques as against the use of physical force and weapons. So, number 4. Gender equality. Valuing the rights of humans to enjoy equal opportunities with men and to be free from abuse, exploitation, and violence. Example, if a person considers himself to be a male and wants to refer to his personal gender in masculine terms, he has a male gender identity. Number 5. Compassion. Sensitivity of the difficult conditions and suffering of other people and acting with deep empathy and kindness toward those who are marginalized or excluded. For example, you might help someone pick up their groceries if they drop their shopping basket on the floor. Number 6. Global concern. Caring for the whole human community, transcending or going beyond the concern which they have for their nation or local or ethnic community. Number 7. Ecological concern. Caring for the natural environment, preference for sustainable living and a simple lifestyle. For example, open cleaning of the community to maintain the cleanliness of the community. Number 8. Cooperation. valuing of cooperative processes, and the principle of working together toward the pursuit of common goals. An example of a cooperation is when one person hands you a brick and you lay the brick, and orderly sharing of space or resources. Number 9. Openness or tolerance. Openness to the processes of growth and change, as well as willingness to approach and receive other people's ideas, beliefs, and experiences with a critical but open mind, respecting the rich diversity of our world's spiritual traditions, cultures, and forms of expression. Number 10. Justice. Acting with a sense of fairness towards others, upholding the principle of equality, and rejection of all forms of exploitation and oppression. An example of justice is when someone being released from prison after DNA evidence proves that they are innocent. Number 11. Social responsibility. Willingness to take action to contribute to the shaping of society characterized by justice, now non-violence, and well-being, sense of responsibility toward present and future generations. Last number 12. Positive vision. Imaging the kind of future they prefer with a sense of hope and pursuing its realization in ways that they can. Example of this is the Amazon. Their vision is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Their customers can discover anything they might want to buy online, and offer its customers the lowest possible prices.
So hello, it's me again, Jane Minyosa Bale, your reporter. So let's proceed to the skills. So some of the skills that need to be developed are, the first one is the reflection. Of course, the use of reflective thinking or reasoning through which they deepen their understanding of themselves and their connectedness to others and to the living earth. So when you saw something that is reflect naman, you are you should apply it to yourself. You should believe on how you reflected yourself to others, or how the others, yes, how you reflect yourself to others. Na? You should have the skills of the reflection. That is for my understanding. The second one is the critical thinking and analysis. So it is the ability to approach issues with an open but critical mind. So you, as a student or as an individual, you should have the ability, you should have the skills of critical thinking and analysis. It is to know how to research, uh, to question, to evaluate, and interpret evidence. It has the ability to recognize and challenge prejudices and unwanted claims, as well as to change opinions in the face of evidence and rational arguments. So, diba? Um, in regards to um, problem solving, you should have the ability to, you should possess the skills of critical thinking and analysis, because you cannot just solve some problem if you don't have the critical thinking and the analyzation. It is useless. The some evidence will be useless if you don't have the critical thinking, skills and the analyzation, because if you don't possess on that skills, the things that are important will be just neglected, because you don't know how to analyze those things. You don't have any logic about how to do the what are those things for, right? So you must students must have these skills of critical thinking and analysis. The next one is the decision making. Decision making is important. No, it is important skills that everyone should possess. Ability to analyze. Decision making is the ability to analyze problems, develop alternative solutions, analyze alternative solutions considering advantages and disadvantages, and having arrived at the preferred decision. Also, the ability to prepare a plan for implementation of the decision. And of course, in addition to this, uh, you must have the plans, not just a uh, single plan, because if that plan A was vanished, you will proceed to the plan B. Now, after to decision making, let's proceed to imagination. Now, in addition to decision making, um, when if you have come up into this making a decision, you should think about the advantages and disadvantages of the possible outcomes of the decision that you are making. Okay, so let's continue to imagination. Imagination is creating an image, imagining new paradigms paradigms and new preferred ways of living and relating. Imagination is somewhat like planning for some new patterns for something that is for the good of humanity or for the good of yourself. No, not just the good for yourself, but also good for others. The next one is the communication. This communication skills is the most. I mean, I'm not saying that it's most important, but it is one factor of the person to have the effectiveness of uh, implementing peace for education, peace for everyone. Communication, listening attentively and with empathy, as well as the ability to express ideas and needs clearly and in non-aggressive way. No? And also, if you have this skill communication, you should not you shouldn't be some aggressive. You don't have to be aggressive person. You should that I keep on repeating this word you should because you know these skills must be applied, must be learned as an individual. The communication is important skills because if you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to listen other people, uh, you cannot deliver what you wanted to to say or to send. And if you don't know how to listen, you cannot learn something. Huh? You cannot learn what you wanted to learn. The present schema cannot be added a new information, and that schema is just stuck in what if you have a wrong information about that. Now you cannot be corrected because you don't know how to listen or you don't know how to communicate to other people. The next one is the conflict resolution. Yes, ability it has these skills has ability to analyze conflicts in an objective and systematic way and to suggest a range of non-violent solutions. No, conflict resolution skills include appropriate assertiveness, dialogue, active listening. No, this conflict resolution uh, involves assertiveness, dialogue, active listening, and collaborative problem solving. If having these skills, um, conflict resolution, having these skills is important. No, these communication skills is important for the mental skills. It is said that communication skills is important for the fundamental skills in conflict resolution. Why? Because in conflict resolution, it involves dialogue, active listening, no? Which are the factors that helps you to have the effective skills of conflict resolution. And after to the conflict resolution, let's proceed to the next one, which is the empathy. So these skills is the ability to see the perspective of another person or group and to feel what the person or group feels. So this empathy skills is important skills, not just the skills. It can also be called as values, no? Empathy. Uh, Before judging others, to avoid any trouble, before judging others, you should put your feet first you should put your feet first to that person before judging that particular person, no? You should have empathy. You should be considerate of how that person feels before jumping into conclusion. The next one is the group building, working cooperatively with one another. These skills involves working cooperatively with one another in order to achieve common goals. And the last one is the group building. So these skills involves working cooperatively with one another in order to achieve common goals. No? Cooperation and group building are facilitated by sure. Mutual affirmation and encouragement by the members. So, group building is when we say about, no, if for example, we have a group activity. So, in order for your group to have a pretty good outcome, you should cooperate within your group members. In order for you to, uh, in order for you to contribute something, and everyone is part of the solution. Now, after those skills, we also have spiritual and faith traditions as resources for peace. So the world's major spiritual and faith traditions inspire and motivate people to embrace peace as a mission. So no, although we have different religions, but we only have one aim. It is for peace. And when we talk about spiritual and faith traditions, it it is common for these different beliefs and faith to have this mission, which is the peace, embracing one another, right? Because it is what we are living for, to take care of one another and for the resources we have on this planet Earth. As we look closely to everything, if we have just peace, no, if everyone was just knowledgeable enough about peace, we don't have to come up into some world wars or some troubles if we are just knowledgeable enough to have peace. Now, we have this golden rule. No, we have this golden rule. Do not do to others what you don't want others will do unto you. Or in opposite way, do to others what you would want them to do unto you. For even the Islam, the Buddhism, the Hinduism, and the indigenous tradition do the same. No? Even how do you call that? The Buddhist. I forgot, but he also said this. He has some philosophies. No. But in spite of that, this golden rule is the main um, concept is the main aim of the humanity. No, respect others if you want to be respected. Start first it on yourself before asking it to anyone. So that would be our report for this activity. Thank you, ma'am, and God bless.